All right. Good what morning, everybody. I'm going. Uh, I'm trying to. Will not do the feedback thing. All right. So I'm covering. Wait, it's not on. Yeah, that's it. Now I'm covering civic hacking, and we call it social goodness because everybody likes to put extra names to things that include work. But we're asking the question, what's in it for me? Me, the person, me, the organization, the person who wants to donate money to look nice and fancy, that's what we're asking. So before I go on, let's do some business. We speak to sponsors because sponsors make wonderful things like this happen. Community is important, they make it happen. We speak to sponsors for 2 to 3 reasons. My primary reasons are, and I'm speaking from my perspective, resources that you don't have, opportunities that you don't have, and the engagement helps them. Cool? Cool. Say hi to the folks when you get a chance. All right. This is me. This is what I do. Disclaimer. This is my experience. This is my research. And as I told my students about 15 years ago when I used to teach high school, I can be wrong and I have no problem with that. I have no problem being corrected eventually. I have no problem going, I don't know this, but I can find out and come back. Cool? Cool? All right. So my session pitch is this. I'm going to talk about civic hacking in such a way where we speak to soft skills, technical skills, network as a network tooling and how to use the projects as for job hunting. So that's basically what I'm pitch. Nothing complicated, even though I've heard everything that is simple is complicated and everything that is complicated is simple. But I'll give it a try. So this is the road we're going to take. I'm going to talk to you about what is civic hacking. I'm going to give you examples of being used internationally to a local level. I'm going to go down the road of how you can use it. I'm going to tell you a story of how I use it in about 26 more minutes. I should be able to cover all of it in that time. Yep. All right, let's go on. The whole point of civic hacking overall is service. That's it. You don't get paid from it a lot of times. You get opportunities from it, but you don't get paid. So we see our communities, we see our countries, we see our cities, we see our high schools. The whole act of going, cool, how do I use my tech skills in whatever capacity? And before you go, I don't think I can do this. I wrote docs. That's it. My first civic hacking thing is I wrote docs because my job before is that I used to teach literacy. So I can teach basically anybody to read. I could read it and go, this makes no sense to a new person. And they go, cool, fix it. Cool, I hate you. Still fix it. But you know the good old thing of volunteering yourself? That's what I did. All right. So your job, the whole point of this service. That already. So what is it? That's the definition that most people use because the idea of civic hacking, it runs a tangent to open source. So the definition keeps changing as time goes by. It's basically using your technology to solve problems for civic and social issues, and it's innovative. Case in point, somebody thought about the idea of a floating reef in the ocean on a boat like garbage. First thing, are you crazy? Second idea, this may work. Third idea, let's make it work. Fourth time, it is now in use in about 6 places in the world collecting plastic from crazy idea, but innovation, civic issues, technology. I just said all of that. Feel better about myself. I have a slide for it. All right, examples. This is my favorite one. In Kenya, somebody built a whole framework that they use every everything local and government. I heard about it, I did the research, and they've been using it to do everything from immunization to access to public water to mapping of hospitals to mapping of clinics to if they have a natural disaster, what's open, what's not open. And it's all open source, all real time. It runs. If people just sat down and "Oh, this is a problem, we need to fix it." And we're taking pictures, so I'm pausing. It's all pictures. All right, cool. So my favorite part of all of what I just said is this. Government has a hard time doing numbers in real time because it's government and they suck at data. Either outdated, you can't use it, or the website is made in 1492. So when technologists who are in the now make stuff, I'm always pleased. Like somebody goes, cool, this is a problem we need to fix and it will help everybody else. Love that. So that's inter- and we will not talk about the fact that that's always a need. In any democracy, this is all we need. Cool. All right, let's come a little closer. Post COVID, we had websites popping up that gave us information that we all needed because we were locked in the house and we didn't have as much information and we needed it continuously. So the US digital response was formed and it gave us a lot of resources at the time. I remember my favorite one was when we started rolling out vaccines. I could figure out how far away and when I could schedule that. Nobody got paid much to do that. was open source people going, cool, let us help each other. Cool. So of the programs, this is my favorite. I have favorites everywhere because when you have a volunteer food delivery service, I I'm a church boy. I used to grow up in a church. I've done stuff. So I like the fact that somebody goes, cool. How are the seniors going to get help? Because they can't go outside. A lot of times they're immunocompromised. That service was golden for me. And as somebody goes, "You got fixed," I'm like, lovely. Because Meals on Wheels didn't work properly for 6 months because they had to retool and figure out how to operate with COVID being a thing. All right. Most of us probably use that. And if we lived in Jersey, we use that. All right. Again, my favorite is always this one. We have food banks, health clinics, water schools. And before you go, that shouldn't really be a thing in the US. In certain parts of the United States, we still don't have running water, which is annoying to me. But we had help with open source tech. This is fine, but that's my favorite. Cool? Right, a little closer. This is my baby. This is code for Atlanta. It still operates. But I've personally worked on that. Now, Atlanta is theoretically a city of about 8.2 million people. If we want to do math with math, I know Jamaicans internationally are 2.8 million people. So we're about what, 3 times in Atlanta easily with the population. There are a lot of problems civically that government will not catch up and or fix in time or forget about budget wise. I've gotten tickets in the city. I forgot to go to court because I didn't remember when court was. I got a text message 3 days ahead. Went to court, did what I had to do, paid my fine, moved on about my life. Turns out that when I went to Code for Atlanta, the app that sends me the text message, open source tech. Somebody just goes, this needs to be fixed. And I think at the time, one of the clerk of courts came and to Civic Hat Night and said, hey, I don't know how to fix this. Is there a probability that you could help us? And a team of 5, 6 people went, okay, cool, we can take a stab at it. Now, one part. This is the court what I'm talking about. The open data resources for Metro Atlanta is a plethora of things. So we got food bank listing, hours we got for them who people who deliver stuff. And the app for the food bank thing still runs on VB6. It still runs. But these are people moving out of their comfort zone, helping social stuff to fix stuff. I worked personally on this thing. I've never learned so much about metro transport system in my life. For example, 10% of all metro transport has to be accessible to people with disabilities. If you do that, you also have to keep HIPAA compliance because you also take care of people who go to hospitals, which means that your drivers have to be trained in what? HIPAA compliance. And you have to wrap all of this wonderful thing in an API with an app. That worked on a team with that. There's a magical story about us winning money and giving it away, but I'll tell you about that later. All right, how I used it. So we're stepping into the part of why you should do this. This is my ask. I've given, now I'm asking. So for those of us who are younger, newer, or we want to do more, you don't have to do a lot. My thing was I went to places that I liked. I to those of us who know me in this group, I was originally an introvert. I didn't like talking to people, I like going to places. You would never catch me do this, ever. What happened is my father has this thing that my father will go anywhere and do anything once just to know what it's like. My mother goes, compete with fear, you have to win. All right, cool. I'm here. So ask you to go to places to do stuff. I ask the following. Civic hacking groups are nearly in every city, and some of them are online if you are from smaller towns. They have virtual meetups, they have in-person meetups. I need you to show up if you go there. Be sincere. Like you wanna, if you're going there to help and learn, be that person. If you're afraid, leave it at home. Nobody cares. I'm gonna be serious. Nobody cares. I was afraid when I walked into the room that I couldn't write code. I was, what, this is 2016, 17. I just started free code camp. I was the person who just went, cool. I can write CSS code. I can write HTML. That's all I knew. I walked in the door going, this doesn't look and or work the way this we're supposed to work. And somebody said to me, fix it. I was like, huh? I don't write code. They're like, no, no, no. Sketch it out and tell us what to do. I've done marketing. I've run my own business run before. I've run businesses with friends. So I have an idea. I used that knowledge and leveraged it. It worked. I wrote emails. I did all the communication things. I said, hey, this is a deadline. We're going to do all the things. I have a friend by the name of Mark Newman, and if he was here, he would tell you all the stories. I literally will call him, we're going to do a thing. He goes, I'm like, I don't care. We're going to do a thing. We did the thing. He got the job. I then got the job. So it takes time, but I was accountable to the team. All right, so that's step one. Step two, because I like talking and I have no problem being the person accountable, I learned project management skills. I used Trello back then on levels that I didn't know. As I moved forward, I learned that that was using a Kanban board. Didn't even know the term. And I then understood what agile. Again, I didn't know, I still did the thing. For me, eventually I learned the tech terms, I learned to speak to people, I learned that tech people are really big children with way too much more time and egos. Stop laughing. We are half of us have Legos in one shape, kind or form. Hands up. Cool. I'm past 20. Half of us like hobbies that didn't be considered like children like. Hands up. Cool. I'm gonna try two more things. Star Wars babies, hands up. Disney babies, hands up. There we go. So that's all we are. I learned how to communicate with us. I learned how the importance of dinners are. I learned how to build all my tech skills for social. I am not afraid to have conversations with people who make way more money than I do. I learned that in civic hacking. Cool. All right. So what I got from it is I had a portfolio of work. I had the what was it? I had the information sheet. I built the information sheet for my civic hacking project. I learned how to contribute. I learned how to use Git without being afraid. I made one mistake in this wonderful journey. I went on Stack Overflow in 2018 and I asked a question. I never went back for 4 years. But I did learn that some people's ego is just that it's not the thing you do. But I did learn. So then learned how building meaningful projects as a developer is like, cool. We built this movie app. That's awesome. It's pretty. I've seen 100 of them. I built this app that marks the inaccessible places in Atlanta for people who use wheelchairs. That's way more useful. Cool. I built an app. I helped to understand how to build an app that works like Uber for buses. So, to give you context on that, here's the story. Here's a small story. Atlanta in about 2014, 15, I could be wrong, but they have this thing when you requested a paratransit bus, you have to be at a specific stop for a specific time. Now, a lot of people then used it for people who had to go do dialysis, people had to go have groceries done. They don't have anybody else. Somebody stayed outside in the snow, not cold, not rain, snow. Missed the bus, ended up in the hospital. the city got sued because the app was supposed to be way more accessible than it is. Eventually, that's one of the reasons they came forward and go, I need some help with this fixed. We built something that helped with that. All right, let me step forward. I'm coming back to that story, but I'm going to finish this. Do not be afraid to lead projects. You don't have to be good at writing code to lead a tech project. I learned that too. You just have to go, this is how we need it solved. This is what I'd like it to look like. I'm open to suggestions. How do we fix it and how do we get it done? And then you have to manage big children with way too much money. Cool. But again, don't be afraid to lead. I'd say writing documentation is the golden goose that we keep talking about, and I have a talk for that, but that's another day for another time. For those of you who want to know what open source really looks like, we're that. I'm the owner of an NPM package. I got it late, but I now understand this. The package that I have has it's like 1,200 downloads every month. It's not largely used, but it's still used. Somebody pays me. I look at it. I approve PRs. I don't approve PRs. I write documentation. I move on. But that's that's done in our society from open source tech. The court will make way more money just by sending out a text message to say, hey, you have a court session, XYZ date, or hey, you have a citation that needs to be paid more at this time. It keeps people out of trouble. It gets them some amount of taxation money. It made the persons who built it. Cool? All right, story time. So, in the wonderful year between 2017 to 2018, my friend Mark Noon and I, this is actually the story. You can pull up the QR code and you see the whole article. We started the Marcha Hackathon back then. There is one person in this room who I know from that competition, who I've seen at the hackathons, but we eventually helped them fix the API. The paratransit API, the regular API, we fixed the paratransit problem. Because at that time, Mark Moon and my friend was a volunteer he was working as a volunteer at one of the places that help people with disabilities to find work to go to places. 2017 to 2018, we went through the Marta Hackathon, never winning a thing. But what happened is that the work we did helped the city go, this is how it gets fixed. This is how we find somebody. You can take your code and use it. Because it's government, we prefer to pay somebody, which don't make any sense to me, but they found somebody based on the things we identified and are fixed. We won a competition because AT&T built a corridor somewhere around here with sensors. We proposed the same idea, we won. There is no video of my niece falling up when we heard, or that there's no video at all. That is my story that I was sent to. But gave away the money. My parents said I was crazy because I needed money at the time. Then I can make money. These organizations needed money. The comeback for me is that I felt good, and this was a very good interview stories right after I left boot camp. Like everybody goes, I want to hear the story. I told it times. I got one job, and that was fine for me. The trick to it is that at the end of the day, I could put this on my resume and go, cool, this is important for us. This is important, and I did something awesome. I still have the check in my office, big $40,000 check, and I'm fine with this story. I probably will make more money as time goes by, but one problem. All right. Before we go, I don't know how to do it. I got this. Come on. I got this from somebody in this room in which year was it? 2018. I was talking about learning stuff, and she said to me, do it scared. Never understood what it meant, but I kept showing up for things even when I'm like, I'm not ready. I don't think people want to listen. I hear that in my head. Thank you, Angie. Angie was the person who gave it to me. I'll do it scared. I ask the same of you to do it scared. You don't have to know everything. You can find out everything. And we have enough AI helpers these days to help us to figure out where to go and what to do. Cool? All right. So I started, stop it. I started there. I've done that. I went through that because of that. By the way, when I went to, I was interviewing for my boot camp, and they asked me if I've ever done anything in tech. And I said, yeah, I did a hackathon and we won. Now I'm looking for money to pay for school. 'Cause I'm working, driving Uber and driving a truck. Don't know where it's coming from, doing hackathons, doing meetups. Don't know. And the guy said to me, have you ever done anything? Yeah, I've run a meetup group and I've done a hackathon and I won. He goes, send the article. I sent him the article. He calls me back and go, you say you're trying to find some money. I'm like, yeah, I can give you this person who's helping me. And he goes, give me 20 minutes. I got a scholarship for 25K to go to school that covered boarding, that covered not boarding, it covered tuition costs and cost of living expenses. So it's not directly related. I didn't know that this was going to happen. I did it because I'm the son of a teacher. Well, I'm the son of two teachers, because my dad preaches. I'm the son of a farmer, so I'm used to serving. I say this again. If you can, when you can, while you're in your career, once every 5 years, some time. Good? Am I heard? All right. So I'm here now. I'm working on this part, and I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going to happen next, but I'm here now. So this is one article that I found that speaks directly to this point of civic hacking, its intersection to government, its intersection to our democracy, its intersection to our society. It is old. I'll leave you with it. It is old, but it is the best way for me to end this. So, again, thank you for listening to me. And what?
That was awesome. We've got questions. Does anybody have questions around? We got one question here from Claire.
How do you find out about civic hacking opportunities?
Are we talking about a national basis or a local basis? So let's start in your city. Most states have a listing if you go civic hacking code for America and you look up your city. They tend to have meetups, whether online or in person. If at each meetups, most meetups have a Slack or a Discord or something that then tells you whatever projects they're working on. Cool. If I
Looks like there's one scheduled in Atlanta for May 12th.
yeah, I think so. So
The call to action.
there we go. So this is code for this is Atlanta Civic. This is what the last thing I recall. This is their Slack that I've been a member of for a couple of years. I can go through. I got the invite. I can go and see what they're working. Cool. All right. Any more questions?
Any other questions?
No. You all want just me to get off the stage?
I
It's not like my feelings gonna get hurt or anything.
think we're gonna get you pulled in some open spaces. This was awesome, Rondo. Thank you so much for presenting. Hometown hero, folks. I told Narondo the fate of Atlanta was on his shoulders. This talk today.
I finished my slide.
Yeah, well done.
All right, that's it.
Next up, we've got Rachel Lee Neighbors with our AI cram session. Nobody doesn't like Rachel Lee. I heard.
Hello. Do you need anything from me? No, I'm good.
Yeah, she's got it. She's got her own live.
Mic is on. Is it on?
There it goes. I hear it now.
Hey, now we're cooking with fire. Let me do the extending the external display. We are going to yes. You know, I was doing live coding sessions. They like to do this in the Bay Area where it's like, okay, just double checking. How much time have I got?
At least 30 minutes, probably longer. We've got lunch at noon, I think is our next stop.
Oh, strap in, you guys are stuck with me. Um, yeah, sometimes I have clients in the agentic AI space in the Bay Area, and then I go, and in the Bay Area, they've got these things where it's like you come in and a bunch of different people from different companies have 5 minutes to do their spiel at the start of a meetup. And what I forget is, like, unlike this where I'm walking you through talks and such, and I'm looking at the slide down here, it's better to just mirror the display and live for 5 minutes. That took a while for me to get used to. We're not doing that this time. I don't wanna be scared. So, hello, I'm Rachel Lee Neighbors, and I am here to help you navigate all of the AI acronyms you may have been hearing. So who's been hearing the term, generative AI at work lately? Raise your applause. Okay. And how many of you know what a RAG is? Not you've heard of it, you know how it works. Okay, all right. How many of you have a mandate to go do something with AI? All right, okay, great. This is a great audience. I'm so glad you're here with me today. I'm gonna make you sound real smart to your bosses. Uh, but first, I was told that this is a roast, and normally I come fully prepared for this. By the way, all of my slides are handled by myself. I, if you love colorful slides, go support an artist. Don't chat GPT it. I can see that you use like Stable Diffusion to generate your slides. I am judging. You could go give an artist $10 or something. I assure you, artists don't make as much as you do. So spread the wealth, spread the love, and give them some credit. So anyway, I drew this back in 2015, and I was like, this will come in handy. It's the handiest thing I've ever drawn. Anyway, the problem is that I come from the front end development community, and it is not only not AI community, it's not the DevOps community. Uh, so, like, who the heck is John Willis? My first question. And Chris was like, "You met him." And I'm like, "I did?" Like, "Yeah, you met him at the speaker dinner in Durham a couple weeks ago." I was like, "What?" So he's a completely forgettable human being. Um, and I gotta be honest, I was listening to the organizers say, "Oh, you gotta come to Devopsdays Atlanta. We're doing Deming Days." And I was like, "Deming Days? Is that like a hackathon?" I thought Deming was a verb. Apparently, Deming is also a super important dude I've never heard of. So I've just been a little, I'm sorry, that's all I got for you, sir. That's what I got. But I must say that I have deep and abiding respect for anyone who's been learning Japanese for as long as I have. So, my hat's off there. Now, as I said, I come from the front end development community. Who here uses React? Pause, pause. Okay, for all of those of you who don't know React, I'm very important. Uh, I worked over the pandemic with the React core team to launch React.dev and React Native.dev, which are where people go to learn. It impacted like 8 million developers. I got paid by Mark Zuckerberg to do what I consider God's work, getting people six-figure jobs. I like to think it was a win for everybody involved. I took money from a rich guy. I got other people jobs. But I live in London. I did that in London. I spent my pandemic in London. Uh, but I also kind of felt like front-end development, like, once you look under the hood and see how React works, I was just like, "Oh, it's just JavaScript." It's kinda changed too. I was disappointed. So, when I moved on from that role, bounced around doing some stuff with some startups, but I spent 2024 summer when I moved back to London learning about AI with the Big Green Book, which is the best 60 books you'll ever spend in your life. It's just, it's a really good book about, uh and I love that you're taking photos. You should do this. I found out about this book in London at a bar with a bunch of grads, and one of them was like, "I'm so pissed off. I spent 4 years in college studying machine learning and AI, and this book would have saved me so much time because it basically covers all the stuff that I learned." And I was like, "What is the name of that book, sir?" So it's a bit heavy, but it turns out making TikToks of the algorithms I was learning, those were really popular. I was just like, "Okay, let me try to explain this algorithm with whales." And people liked that. I did not know that these algorithms would be so popular. Anyway, if you like mathy bits, go for it. All right, moving on. Before my big tech career, I made comics for teenage girls, and that's why you see I hand through everything here. Turns out, if you want to get jaw surgery and healthcare and such in this country, you got to do more than be an award-winning cartoonist. Unfortunately, so I moved on and I got into tech, and now I am before you, 20 years later. So these slides, I did co-author them with my little pal here, Claude, because I actually really enjoy Claude's way of interacting with me. It feels less like than it's I'm sorry, I know some people love ChatGPT, but I can't help it. It just feels like Sam Altman is sitting there, and he's not my bud. Uh, but I also had some help from my coworker. Well, uh, actually, an intern I worked with in the Bay Area, uh, Wenji. So shout out to Wenji, who's still in the Bay Area right now. Claude is going to stand in for others in this talk of himself. In this case, we're talking Mistral, Gemini, ChatGPT. These all have something in common, which I will reveal to you in a splendiferous fashion as we go. Llama is not in here. Llama's not in here because Meta sucks at giving its open source projects logos. I would know. By the way, if you have an open source project, I need an illustrator to get you a logo so I can put you in my slides. I'm not going to put a screenshot of your GitHub when I got to feature you alongside a bunch of other technologies. And that's why we invest in logos and iconography. Right. So we already did the little hands up. Does anyone here know what a perceptron is? Oh, no, what? You guys just go get some coffee or something. You don't need to be here. Um, like I said, the goal of this talk is to front load all the missing pieces to have conversations with folks at work and make trades about what technologies you're going to use. By the end of this talk, you're going to be able, and that's just not letting me look over my shoulder. By the end of this talk, you're going to be able to understand the evolution of narrow AI towards artificial general intelligence, or AGI. You'll also know what those things mean. You're going to be able to talk about how neural networks underlie deep learning, what a GPT really is, different ways to teach a model, and what vector databases and embeddings are, and why they're so dang handy. Sweet. So let's get started. First, let's get clear about what we mean when we say AI. So intelligence means different things depending on who you talk to, and artificial intelligence specifically. Right now, it means one of two things. When someone says, more AI, I should have put the cowbell in here. That would have been perfect. Anyway, usually people are talking about, when they say AI, they're thinking of GPTs or LLMs, GPT architecture, like our friend, you're thinking of these. Or you're talking specifically about artificial general intelligence, which is what we think of when we think of sci-fi AI, computer, turn this thing on, having conversations with our interfaces, or, it's coming to destroy us. Slightly different AI from what your boss is saying when they're like, "We need to get some more AI." All right. So when we think about artificial general intelligence, or AGI, this is like as human intelligence, or at least can compete with humans at various humaning activities, like walking upstairs, pouring a cup of milk. There's still debate around what constitutes artificial general intelligence or when it'll arrive. There's general consensus that it should be able to do the following. It should be able to transfer knowledge between domains. Pouring a glass of milk, probably a lot like pouring a glass of water. Maybe even you could pour sand or concrete. This has common sense reasoning. Not a lot of humans have that, but okay, fine. Learn from few examples. Being able to pick something up quickly instead of needing to be trained on all the data of the internet. Handle uncertainty and novel situations. Believe it or not, robots they don't like change. I relate to that. And understand context and nuance. I fail with this all the time. I don't know what you're talking about. I think these are unreasonable expectations for a device, but okay. But some things that we assume are components of intelligence as we do it might not be required. For instance, might not need to be conscious or self-aware. There are many self-organizing organisms that respond intelligently that have no nervous system, like slime molds. Check out slime molds if you ever want to have some nightmare fuel. There's a Wikipedia article. Just go have fun. Ahem. They might not think or reason the same way that we do. There are a lot of unspoken things that humans use to make decisions. I'm on the autism spectrum, so oftentimes I'm like, "Wait, where did you get that from?" Because I'm not picking up on some unspoken set of reasoning that doesn't make sense to me. That's considered common sense by most people. And having emotional intelligence, stock data, they tend to be embodiments of a person that doesn't have emotions, like, but they're mostly analogies for autistic folks. So honestly, when I'm reading these books on artificial intelligence, they really help me understand myself better in many ways. For instance, what does the bot do when it encounters a situation it has no prior knowledge of? How does it survive? How does it infer what its creator wants? I'm like, oh my god, I need to take some notes. This is going to help me the next time I join a big organization. Okay, so what we currently have is actually what's called narrow artificial intelligence. It's good at doing one job really darn well, like playing identifying cancer. AGI is the next step. It's as good as a human. Makes decisions, doing multiple things at a time, all the stuff we just talked about. Of course, one step beyond that would be super intelligence, better than human, and also good at the things that we just discussed. So imagine artificial general intelligence, but it's also a bajillion times better than you at just about everything. That sounds like the worst pick me. So fortunately, Claude under the hood is actually a form of narrow intelligence. It's narrow, just one thing. It actually can't do math. It's just predicting what the right answer might be. It's just really, really good at understanding language. It's a large language model. It has been trained to know everything about how humans communicate, mostly in English. But you know what? It turns out there's like some common patterns across languages. Once you learn one language, it's not too hard to train up on the rest of them or even go, okay, so where exactly are we on the evolution of AI? Well, we're marching towards artificial general intelligence, but it actually all started back with the perceptron algorithm. What is the perceptron? The perceptron was the first machine learning algorithm. It came out in 1943 was when it was published, and it was designed to mimic how a biological neuron works. Neurons are the cells that make up your brain, and they all connect to each other through a network, kind of like a graph database. So we live in an organic world, and it turns out mathematics and organics, structured organism, we tend to follow certain patterns. They repeat themselves over and over again. You can kind of see similarities, but this all will drop off shortly. So this picture is actually of Mark perceptron machine, the first implementation of the perceptron algorithm, which happened only, what is this, 14 years later. It got it proved that machines could learn by example. I'll actually show you how that promise. I won't make you do any math equations. I've only got visual equations for you to look at today. Of course, there were claims that it would be able to reap conscious of its existence. But it turns out those were overhyped claims. As soon as people kind of did like I did with React, looked under and they're like, oh, yeah, okay. That was the beginning of the first AI winter. People were hyped, and then they were not hyped, and the investment dried up. And so these summers and winter seasons, people are like, "Oh my God, artificial general intelligence is right here," and then they're like, "Oh no, it turned out it really wasn't what we thought it was." We're in the middle of one of those right now. So let's take a look. That's the picture I expected. So how this thing works is, let me see if I can turn around without triggering screaming. Can't. Okay. So over here, you see kind of a retina. Retina is like your eye. It's got receptors that can, little units that can perceive if they are being touched by photons, by light. And if they're touched by photons, they give a 1 signal. If they ain't, it gives a 0 signal. Now, each one of these inputs is then passed to a layer where it's processed. A layer elements here. And these suckers basically use a multiplier to weight inputs. For instance, giving heavier weight to the inputs in the center, lighter weight to the ones around the edges, for instance. This is how you might do it. This is where the weights and biases come in. Um, and it added up all the weighted inputs, and if the sum exceeded a threshold, it outputted 1. Otherwise, it would output 0 here in the output section. Note that there's only one layer of purple dots there, hidden layer. This comes back to get us. This is very important. This is the neuron design here. This is what machine learning looks like. Now, that's a machine learning. What's deep learning? Hey, go back. There we go. So what happens if you take a bunch of perceptrons and you stack them in layers and let them pass information to each other, adding different weights and tweaking to form an opinion of what a different output based on what they're seeing. This is what we call a neural network. And you can have shallow neural networks, which are anything below 3 layers. You can actually build it at home pretty easily. And anything beyond 3 layers is called deep learning because it's a deep stack of neural network layers. So that's machine learning. This is deep learning. I spent the summer also reading this book just so I could understand what deep learning is. And by the way, if you're going to work in AI and you want something fun to do and you consider this stuff, I realize not everyone's definition of fun is my definition of fun, but I do recommend giving this little book a try. You can build your own neural net, and you can see that under the hood, it's super. So deep learning is a subset of machine learning that uses neural networks with layers. These are really good at pattern matching. The problem is that they need lots and lots of data and power. Uh, the good news, though, is that they don't need structured data to do this. You don't have to pass labeled data, which is a traditional way of building narrow AI. Is like first you have to label all these images of what's in the image. No, no, no. With deep learning, you just dump a bunch of images and say, I want you to group these images, and don't worry about labeling them later. So, this book a look. The fun thing is you will learn that AI is not magic. It is just a lot of math. It is a lot of math. And once you do the math trick yourself, you can't unsee it. You will see it in everything. You'll be like, aha, ChatGPT, I see what you're doing there. Yeah. Now, let's take a look at just how deep these different LLMs can get. So we got AlexNet here. This is from what, 2012? It was 8 layers deep. This is not too long ago. This is only 13 years ago. People. It was 8 layers deep. You can think of it as the height of a single-story home. And then in 2013, just a year later, we had VG19. This is like the height of a small office building, right? And then only a little bit later, 2 years later, we had ResNet, 50 layers deep. And now we have Google's Palm, 118 layers deep. This is like the height of a skyscraper in comparison to everything. To give you an idea, ChatGPT is about 120 layers deep, if I recall. Just got to be a little bit taller than the next guy. But as you add layers, you get a decreased return on investment. So we're probably going to stay about that deep for a while until we end up with another break. So that's how deep the deep learning has to be before you can get away with an LLM. So transformers, not robots and transformers are inspired by one of my favorite films. Have you watched Rival? Everyone who hasn't watched it, that's homework. You have to read the big textbooks. You gotta watch Rival. This was a pandemic movie, and during the pandemic, the the guys who went on to found Google Brain watched this, and they got inspired. They were like, "Well, that seems like a problem." It's a story about a linguist who has to decode what aliens are trying to say to the human race. Uh, Only science fiction movie ever make me cry, and I love it because it's got a heroine and there's no guns or anything. Anyway, they were inspired by this to just create a neural network designed to decipher long sequences like musical notes, video frames, or language. Transformers, for instance, they break sentences into tokens. That's words or group of words. We can think of breaking down songs into segments of notes. Now, here are the things you need to know about tokens versus parameters. You will hear tokens and parameters argued about in online discussions about LLMs, etc. I'm going to explain. So tokens are the pieces of input that you can feed to your model. Like when you're interacting with ChatGPT and you're writing something into that chat window, these get turned into tokens. And models have token limits. GPT-3, for instance, take about 4,906 tokens. So you might think, oh, that's a lot. You can't put a novel in there, for instance. Maybe you can put in an essay, but you're going to hit your token limits if you try to put too much in. Parameters, on the other hand, reflect the model's internal learning. It's all the things that it learned when it was being trained. Sort of like how a child can learn a language as they're growing up, but then when they're an adult, it's very hard for them to learn a new language. Their brain has already matured and solidified. They've already learned certain things, and it's hard for them to learn new things. That's how I like to think about it. They are fixed after training. Now, these parameters are measured in the billions. GPT-3, for instance, 175 billion parameters. Great, you got a lot of internal knowledge that you can leverage there when you wanna ask about those 4,000 tokens that you just handed it. All right. So, now I've shared with you all of this fun stuff. Can anyone guess what GPT stands for? All right, that's fine, I'll spoiler it. It's a generative pre-trained transformer. We talked about parameters, that's the pre-trained information. We talked about the transformer architecture that breaks things down into tokens so that it can understand the overall flow. LLMs themselves aren't very good at like forming human speech, but with the GPT architecture, they can break down a sentence into tokens, and they can reformat and remix it and understand it as much as narrow AI can understand it. So, generative creates new content rather than just classifying existing content. Pre-trained, it's initially trained on vast amounts of text data. And transformer, it's using the transformer architecture. That's how you remember it. And it's not, GPTs are not just ChatGPT. That's right. These LLMs, all of them, are just massive, generative, trained transformers, trained trained on the huge amounts of text, mostly Reddit articles found on the internet. Phew. Right, so there you are. I've destroyed the magic. So, where exactly are these falling on the path to artificial general intelligence? Well, we're about there. LLMs and GPTs. We've still got a long, long way to go before we hit artificial generative intelligence. Uh, General, not generative, but we are making progress. And also, by the way, can I include? Damn it! I'm sorry. This is from an illustrator as well, but I did not include because my slides did not include the bit of thank you. But this artist created a woman version of the classic evolutionary timeline, and I wanted to thank them for making it publicly available. I did not want to keep using the same picture from Wikimedia Commons that everyone else was. So, the content these GPTs generate, there's some problems with it. We have no consensus on what it means to be intelligent. Alan Turing is for instance, he's a World War II hero, gay icon, AI poster boy. He invented the imitation game, which we now know as the Turing test. And actually, if you live in London, and if any of you come to London, would like to go there, there's a place called Bletchley Park, where he worked with mostly women during World War II to crack German codes. And a lot of that work is classified, and now it's been declassified so we can hear about it. Bletchley Park is adding new exhibits every year so we can see how it works. But anyway, he came up with the Turing test, which is it was a hypothetical kind of a joke, but we took it very serious. The idea is we can measure the intelligence of AI by how well it can fake out being human in a blind taste test. So if you with 2 characters, you can't see them, you're just texting them, and you can't tell which one is the human, then it passes. And now it turns out that our GPTs are so good at passing this test that they are beating humans in the competition. Oh, but this is interesting for reasons we'll get into in a moment. But I wanted to call out here that sadly Turing is deceased because the UK government wanted to make him not gay. He was gay, and that was a big no-no. And he ended up dying from treatment at the government. This is where I usually introduce a 30-second moment of silence as a reminder that queer people and other minorities have been here contributing to society and technology for hundreds and thousands of years, although they are very rarely recognized and often punished for their contributions. You're welcome, and also, we are equal. Sorry. Well, let's hope that we don't lose the next Alan Turing before his time or her time. The unfortunate part is we didn't get to do a follow-up on the imitation game, and we've been building AI to be at really good at something it's not. Hallucination, for instance. This is kinda like when that guy pretends to know stuff he doesn't to get a job. I mean, we all know this guy. I wonder who the LLM learned this from. Probably us. We have a tendency to misremember, elaborate, double down, and insist we are right when we are classifiably not data. They have a saying, "Garbage in, garbage out." These LLMs have been trained on Reddit. I mean, come on, what did we really expect? LLMs have been trained to repeat our own nonsense back at us for rewards. They're literally being trained using the same classical CP training methods that we use to train parrots, horses, etc., and even small children. Don't give them your iPhone. They repeat the information, misinformation slurs, all our worst qualities as well as our best, whatever it is here in that moment. We are far from AGI, in my opinion, until these systems can reason about their impact and self-censor. And then, arguably, they're gonna be more intelligent than we are. Let's talk about how we're teaching it all these awful things. We've got unsupervised learning. I was homeschool. I will use a bit of my own experiences here. Unsupervised learning, this is like, just give it data and expect it to find patterns or structure on its own. Sort of like sorting laundry, the socks go with each other, etc. Supervised learning, this is how I learned growing up, is like giving them the answer. Give them input data and correct answers, and the goal is for them to predict the answers for new data. I would often, if I got stuck on something hard, I'd have the answer key right there, and I would go through the answer key and keep working through the problems until my answers match the answer keys. And then we've got reinforcement learning, learning through trial and error. You give them an environment and a reward system, and they learn best actions to maximize rewards. This is like training a dog with treats. It's also fairly cheap. This is the most expensive one. It's often called human in the loop. This is reinforcement learning with human feedback. You give the trained model human raters and examples of outputs, and its goal is to learn to produce outputs that the humans prefer. Just remember here, there's a human preference added to this. This is kind of like a comedian, which jokes work best by watching the audience's response. I also don't like watching stand-up comedy. So, but how is it actually learning? What's going on there? Imagine. Well, once again, uh, it's just math. You're going to hear a lot of game changing. By the way, if you hear game changing, that was generated. But once again, all these words are just describing math. So this is what the training cycle looks like. Well, I'm going to read it out, and I'm going to show it to you. You got forward propagation, error calculation, back propagation. You update the weights, biases, and parameters, and then you repeat this until the error, until you get to a zone of acceptableness. This is called a cycle. I'm going to show you what that looks like because I can't use words to understand things. I got to see a picture. So forward propagation is when you pass data forward through those layers and make a prediction on what the answer should be correctly. Then the error calculation is when you compare the output that you got with the output you want it to get, actual output. So maybe you said, I want you to do some math, and you got a predicted answer of, 2 plus 2 is going to be 5. Then you compared it to the actual answer, which is 4. You're like, buddy, you got to redo this. So this is when you do backward propagation. You pass that error backwards to discover which weight and which bias impacted that output. You're going to tweak them so that when you pass it forward again, it's called the gradient descent. You tweak and you adjust the parameters to remove the error. And you keep doing this over and over again until you get the prediction is within that error, uh, that acceptable error rate. So that's it. That's what happens. You repeat this until the discrepancy between expectations and reality is within bounds. It's just doing math underneath there. Once you do it yourself, you will never be impressed by any of these talks again. Embeddings. Okay, what's an embedding? We talked about tokens. We talked about parameters. You're going to hear embeddings. I hear these all the time. I just remember what they're for. Embeddings are ways to represent things, that is, words, images, etc., as a list of numbers, so that AI can understand and compare them. Because AI is not like you and I that holds an entire thought in its head. It's got to see numbers, compare numbers. This one's lower than that one. This one exists. That one doesn't. To a learning machine, you are just a number. Oh, pardon. A learning machine, you are not just a number. You are a collection of numbers. So I decided to turn myself and my friends and partner into numbers to demonstrate this to you. In this case, these numbers represent how much we match a description on a scale of -1 to +1. And you can see that I'm pretty gender neutral. My partner's pretty masculine. My bestie is a girly girl, and my sibling rides horses. On the autism scale, I'm actually a 0.6. Turns out partner actually also is on the autism scale. I need to update this. Anyway, we'll do that in the back prompt. My bestie is completely neurotypical, and this has caused no end of fun for us. And my sibling is also pretty neurotypical. And you can kind of do the comparison there. So how does the machine actually figure out where we are? We can see how related they are. In this case, by adding up all the numbers. So you can see that my partner and I are pretty close, 0.6, 0.7. My bestie and my sibling, they're all the way off on some other end of a 4-dimensional scale. If you plotted these on a 4D graph, my partner and I'd be over here, and my sister and my sibling would be like, boo, boo, boo. But it's hard to imagine something in 4 dimensions. So just roll with it. But you could imagine starting with like a cube. Yeah. So, time for some human-led visual metaphors. Vectored databases. Embeddings are like a set of coordinates on a graph, many dimensional space. Now let's imagine them as books for a bit, because I can't show you dimensional space that eats like a 16-dimensional or 4,000 dimensional space. That's what we're doing here. That's what a vector database is kind of describing. So let's imagine them temporarily as books. This is the book of me. I actually did handwrite all of my embeddings in there. Stickler for details. So these live as a set of coordinates inside a vector database, which we're going to imagine is a library. This is where all the vectors go to live. We put them into a library of vectors. And in this library, did anybody ever work in a library or volunteer at a library? Yeah, okay. Well, you've sorted books. I've sorted books. You put books about similar topics next to each other. Libraries use a Dewey Decimal System, but here we're using vector databases. And you can see that my partner and me, we're really close together. My sibling and my bestie, a little bit off to the side. Not, they're still within range, but not close. And this brings us to RAG, which stands for Retrieval Augmented Generation, or you can think of it as your LLM's library card. So remember what we learned about tokens, that they are pieces of input fed into the model, and that models have token limits. Sometimes the model's eyes are bigger than their tummy. The context window is too small for all the information we want to feed it. In this case, we need to do some research. We got all these books, and Claude is like, my door is too small for all of these books. I cannot possibly take them in. So what do? Well, we put them into the library, into the vector database. First, what you do is you embed the data into a vector database where the information is going to be stored near similar information. It's going to be stored near things that have similar coordinates. Now, you log a query when you write something in ChatGPT's text box. What's happening is in a RAG system is that query is also put into the vector database near similar things. So let's say ChatGPT has been trained on all of the things that have happened in human history, but it doesn't know anything about your new favorite author who just released a book last year. Well, what you could do is you could have added lots of things about lots of that author's works to your vector's vector database. And when you log that query, your query goes and gets stored near those topics. So in this case, I had a new friend, and I've stored it here, and it's near my partner. Now, when the LLM is questioned about this topic, it goes checks its vector database, and it checks out the books to increase it into its context window. So it gets just related embeddings to answer your query. I actually kept a like 30 books constantly checked out from my library at a time because I lived in rural Virginia. So I very much identify with this. Now, while machines learn from backprop, humans learn from spaced repetition, which means reviews and quizzes. I promise no quizzes, but there is a review. We have witnessed our evolution from narrow toward AGI, or I hope one day super AI. Personally, I welcome super AI. LLMs seem intelligent, but they're actually recombining things. We feed them in ways that please us. We've seen that layers of math called neural networks underlie deep learning, and we know that backprop is where the learning happens. We've also learned that embeddings are just ways of converting things into sets of numbers that machines can use to compare stuff. And we've also learned that we can use a vector database in RAG so that the LLM will get just the information it needs to answer your query. All right, here we go. If you are interested in things AI related, you can check out justforspace.com. I got a little newsletter there. Um, yeah, so thank you so much for joining me. I hope this helps you as you are encouraged to do more things with AI. May they be good things that do not result in a Terminator-like.
That was amazing. I knew it was going to be good. I didn't know it was going to be that good. It was an awesome talk. Are you cool with questions? Anybody got any questions, or are y'all ready to go? Questions?
You can leave for lunch.
We can do questions at lunch. We can do questions in open spaces. We do have open spaces coming up. Not after well, technically after lunch, but after Ignites. So we'll be back in here at 1 p.m. for Ignites. Lunch should be down the spiral staircase, and I believe we've got tables set up outside also today. If you would like to dine al fresco. So yeah. Also hit up the sponsors if you've got time and haven't done that yet. We are getting more sponsor passport turned in, and we'll see y'all back here at 1 p.m. We got folks trickling in. So we're gonna do Ignite talks, and then we're gonna do Ignite karaoke. So people know what Ignite. Who doesn't know what Ignite karaoke is? Yeah, Nathan's doing the thing where he raises his hand so other people. So last minute schedule adjustments. We had we were short on Ignite talks, and then we had Patrice cancel. So Nathan jumped in. We also have Ruthie jumping in. Ruthie's first time presenting. Asked them about it this morning, and there was honeycomb. I was like, "We got a spot open. Anybody wants it?" Ruthie was like, "I'll do it." And threw a deck together. So like, the two already here for Ruthie. In that spirit, who's never given a talk at a tech conference? I, I know, I know. There's some of y'all in here. So Ignite karaoke. What we've got random guests that are together. When the session kicks off, we hand you your mic. Mike, you tell us what you talk about, and just sort of add with whatever comes up on the screen. Super fun, super awkward. It's always a good time. So, like I'm mentioning, normal ignites. Y'all can find the courage to get on stage, give us your best ignite karaoke. Sound like fun? That's the spirit. All right. First up, we got Atlanta local Chris Stone. Let's hear it for Chris. So I saw Chris give a 45 minute version of Saturday at Atlanta Cloud Conf, Marietta, however much sense that makes. So I'm interested to see the 5 minute version. And you're going to kick off.
All right, hello everyone. All right, can officially get started. So my name is Chris Stone. I'm a full stack software developer, and I write code, and I also write tests, unit integration, end-to-end, you name it. And I love it. I really enjoy writing tests. There's several reasons. The main one is I can get really scared, anxious, nervous, worried. Maybe I need to maintain something that I don't understand works. Or I think about all the times I was so sure I knew that something was going to be good, and I took down the app. Um, there's manual things I need to remember to check, and I'm clumsy. I can forget. Many of us know fear is the mind killer. I can't let these little steps take control of me. So I need to face that fear and about it. How? Where do I start? How do I make up a plan? Here's the plan. Write tests until fear is transformed in. Um, why and when do I write tests? Because there's something that the thought of it failing scares me. And when I no longer have anything that would scare me if I failed, I can stop. So a good test is one that could conceive fail at some point. We don't want to put tests into CI if they ever. Uh, we do want to put tests in our CI. So if they go wrong, we know immediately. But a test that always passes because it doesn't test anything meaningful is just clutter. If tests fail, you need to take it seriously. Don't allow your team to not take it seriously. Allowing a flaky test to continue to run to reduce the team's confidence. So make sure to fix flakiness as it comes up or skip it until you can. On our team, we also do TDD. It gives us some of the other benefits of testing, but also helps us prevent complicating our code more than it needs to. We write just enough code to make the test pass. Also, there's a lot of benefits to documenting code, like we've heard earlier today. But why put that documentation in a place that's far removed from our code, less likely to be encountered? How about documentation if it ever is not true any longer? It actually alerts us. And what makes good documentation? It should be readable. I should be able to quickly scan over it and know what the intention behind it is. It should be relevant. If I'm editing something, there's a paragraph that's not necessary, or tests that I don't need anymore, I delete them. And also have a well test that actually help maintainers. There's dozens of kinds of tests. I usually think of 3 categories. There's the unit tests, the ones that are something isolated and can take milliseconds. Integration, maybe over a database, could take a few seconds in the end-to-end. Ones that'll take longer, but actually test the whole user journey could take tens of seconds. How often you write one type or another is debated. We have a pyramid, we have a trophy. Don't worry about the actual ratio. I would advise consider your case for what you want to test and go for the lowest level that actually gives you value. So if we have a test that is just doing something in memory, altering something slightly, a unit test should suffice. But if I have one that's based on what it's trying to do, it'll change our SQL, and we might query something from the database differently. I could mock the database, but now I don't know if my SQL is actually correct, so I would probably go an integration one there. If you ever feel like you have to test both your backend that's producing the results for an API and the front end that consumes it, you might want to consider uh, what format does the front end actually need? Do all that in the back end, so test that through, and the front end consumes it. For end-to-end tests, we use Playwright on our team. There is a learning curve, but we were able to use code to get us started, then refactor to page object model. That gets us that readability we talked about, and then we were able to further address some of the speed concerns by using storage state. So with any kind of test framework, there's a learning curve, but over time, you find the optimizations make it better work for you. So for our front end, we added vtest and React testing library to our application for the first time. When we saw it, it didn't have these in there. We try to add to that suite over time as we need to maintain things. We try to focus on behavior, not the implementation details. But sometimes the implementation details are what you have to test. So be pragmatic about what you're actually trying to test and see, is it necessary to get that detail, or um, or is there something that we can mock? And then we are DevOps days, so I'll close off by showing our infrastructure as code, unit integration running on every pull request, and our end-to-end on every deployment. So thanks, everyone.
Clear for Chris. Next up, we have Pratik with platform stuff.
Hey guys, my name is Pratik Parekh and I work as a DevOps engineer at Symbian. When I'm not working, I'm reading books and watching movies and solving Rubik's Cube. So if you're interested, definitely reach out to me for that. And there will be a QR code somewhere on the screen and you can scan and you can get connected on LinkedIn. So I'll be talking about internal development platforms, what it is all about, how to use, create one, what are the benefits of using one. So let's start by talking about DevOps engineers, right? Or developers. So usually, as a DevOps engineer, what happens is I get requests from developers saying, "Hey, this is my branch. Can you deploy it to production? Can you deploy it to different kind of stages, or can you scan it for vulnerabilities? Can you run an automation test?" And these are important tasks, but I don't want to do those. I want to do something better. I don't want to do these manual tasks. So I should be asking developers, "Can you do it yourself?" But developers, they just want about code. They don't want to learn, or they shouldn't care about how the deployments work behind the scenes, or what DevOps tools are used or what processes are used. So instead, what I should be doing, or what you should be doing as a DevOps engineer or DevOps team, is that create a script, maybe a script, and then convert it into a CLI tool, REST API, or maybe a nice UI where the developers will send their requests, and internally it will run all those kind of tools that you have and create the deployment for them. And that is exactly what IT is. It is internal to your organization. It is for the developers to use, and it is a platform. It can also be a service. You can call it what you want, call it a portal, or whatever. So, what are some of the benefits here? As DevOps, you don't have to, since developers are doing things themselves, you don't have, you do other tasks, and the developers are not blocked on any person availability or a specific team's availability to do specific functions, and that in turn converts to faster scrum cycles, faster time to market for your software, and any kind of change that you want to do or the developers want to do is always like in a way we should strive to make things configurable. So anytime a developer wants to, for example, create a new database using an existing one with their deployment, all they have to do is like change the config value. That's it. So, what about, so yeah, I mean, these are all the benefits, banking out, but that's fine. So, what are some of the ideas? So, let's say you are using Kubernetes, and ways to get started with an IDP is what Kubernetes is using Helm. So, in Helm, you have something like a values file, which will let you do configuration. And what you can do is for the developers, create a form. And what the form will do is the developers will fill the values, whatever they want, and the form will then convert that into a Helm values file or maybe override certain values. And that's how you can get configuration. So the developer will never know what is happening behind the scenes. They are just editing a form. You have checkboxes, radio buttons, things like that. If they want to create a new database, they'll do like a click a checkbox. They'll have different values, have preset values. If they want to override maybe number of CPU, memory, number of connections to the database, they can do so. So that's how the developers will use the IDP, the form UI, query, and internally the IDP will do all the hard work of running Helm update, so on. Similarly, if you're using cloud, you can do the same thing. You can use cloud formation, right? You can use Azure managed templates, Bicep templates. If you want to go cloud agnostic or you want to do Terraform, there are various tools. It will be similar to the Helm approach. You will have some kind of API or UI, and behind the scenes, you'll run all these Terraform commands or any other commands. And you will create resources. These would be cloud resources, Kubernetes resources. You could have subnets, virtual networks, S3 buckets, Lambda function, anything. What if you are using cloud when it is both, or you're using some other service? You can do the same for other services as well, especially if you're using cloud and Kubernetes together. You can do this, like create something like custom resource, and all your Kubernetes resources could be like ownership of the custom resource. It will also help you for cleanup. You delete the custom resource, everything else gets deleted. If you're a fan of Kubernetes, as you should be using it. What you can do is use controllers, operators, and then use those custom resources along with your operators. Create cloud resources also. You can do that if you want to. You can apply appropriate tags and labels so you can identify what was done. Yeah, thank
Awesome. Next, we got Justin with developer experience, DevX.
I hope so.
We're gonna find out soon.
15 seconds of awkwardness first. So, how's everybody doing? Nice. It's a cool format, isn't it? It's challenging, but that's what I like about it. Forces you to really focus on what you want to say, which is talking about building 10x development organizations. So, I think that there's a lot of mythology around the 10x number, and there's data to prove that. We're going to talk about a study that took place starting in the late 70s, which gave us this myth, the myth of the 10x engineer. I think about these folks the same way that I think about Sasquatch, chupacabras, magical unicorns. If you believe in those things, I apologize, but they don't exist. And this book, I think, though, is the origin story for this myth. Now, in the coding war games, this book talks about, we found that there were organizations that were 11 times as productive as the worst performing organizations in the study. So we actually found out that within a single organization, there was only about a 21% difference in productivity between individuals in that org. But there was an 11x difference in productivity between the highest performing organizations in the study and the lowest performing organizations in the study. So some of the best performers were clustering in some organizations, while others were clustering, and worst performers were clustering in others. Some companies were doing this way worse than others. But there's something about their environment and their corporate culture that's keeping even good people from succeeding. Now, what were the factors that mattered? It was not language. It wasn't even really years of experience. It was things like, is it acceptably quiet? Is it acceptably private? Can you silence your phone or your Slack like we have now? Can you divert your calls? So Dora was kind of first on the scene, start trying to measure the performance capabilities of an organization. And it looks at a distilled set of metrics that tell you various things about how the health of that organization works from a tools perspective and from a cultural perspective. But too many people focus on one single metric in Dora. They try to improve one single metric. And then you run headfirst into something called Goodhart's law, where when a measure becomes target, it ceases to be a good measure. So DevOps and Dora and Agile have not captured all the bottlenecks and friction and obstacles to throughput. There are many that are just hiding in plain sight. And the 10x organization should consider every aspect of the developer value stream, internally and externally, which is where the space framework came from. So my friend Margaret Ann Story, Peggy Story, she was the lead author on this study. A lot of other really good thinkers came up with this. We added a satisfaction element and dimension. They're really called metrics. These are called dimensions to what we were doing with Dora. And that's brought us to this confluence of developer experience, discipline, product management, and what we've learned from DevOps that's formed the core we're now calling platform engineering. That's really all it is, taking what we've learned from DevOps. We've added these new disciplines. Now, how do we get satisfaction data? Well, no one knows more about the friction in the software development lifecycle than developers. So what if we just asked developers? Okay. And what we found is that when we phrase the questions the right way, we can look at quantitative data that tells us some stuff like PR cycle time and commit frequency. But if you also just ask developers whether they get a chance to work on small iterative changes, and sample a large enough size, we don't consider anything successful until you're at least 90%. Then the data actually really starts to converge. So there's this new metric set that came after Dora and Space called DevX. My boss, Abhi Noda, helped to author this one along with Paul Forsgren, who worked on Dora, and a lot of other really good thinkers. So now we have this wonderful 3 sets of metrics. They all affect one another. They create a very complicated story. They are a constellation of metrics in tension with one another. but this isn't very portable, and it's kind of hard to maintain. So the newest, most modern framework that you can use for measuring productivity and ultimately trying to help it, fix it, is the Core 4, which is a distillation of these three different metric sets of DORA, SPACE, and DevX. The effectiveness metric is built by the Developer Experience Index, which is a 1 to 100 normalized index following a bunch of different drivers about the system that developers have to work with. So these are things like, is there time for deep work? How's the dev environment? So the big quandary is always, well, do I measure quantitative or do I measure qualitative, right? There's pros and cons to both of these things. But with the Core 4 metric set, you don't have to think about that. You can measure both. You can see how the story is told about developer productivity using the confluence of these metrics. Now, I know you won't believe me. Every 1 point gain in the DXI actually equates to about 10 hours annual savings per developer when you work on this scale. And we do have the math proof. I'm happy to talk through that. So knowing how to measure productivity or even defining it has remained elusive. It's a very difficult problem to solve, but I really believe that the Core 4 is the best possible way available to do it now. So thank you very much. I appreciate it. Slides are available coming up there.
And now that we got Dora called out, we're going to pass the mic to Nathan.
All right, we'll have a Dora and DX Core 4 Smackdown. All right, so it looks like we get an extra 15 seconds here. The past day and a half, we've heard the origin story of DevOps, and like every good superhero, it's another origin story. So I'm going to give you another origin story of DevOps. For me, it started when I was a youngster in about 1986. When I was listening to popular music back then, there were rock bands, there were rap bands, and they never came together. In fact, they actually performed on different sides of the wall. This is a clip from a video where Aerosmith and Run DMC came together to collaborate on a song. And as you can see here, the developers are actually beating their heads against the operator on the other side of the wall, also angry at developers. Until one day, one of the developers is like, what's going on over there in operations land? He broke a hole in the wall and said, what are you all doing? They said, we're making music. And he said, fuck, that's what we're doing. Maybe we should tear down this wall and work together. And so that's exactly what wall came down. Dev and ops got together, but dev didn't do ops and ops didn't do dev. Steven Tyler did not start freestyling. He continued to play the guitar. And so what they did was they focused on the audience. It's dev and ops working together in alignment to bring the audience joy. That is what DevOps is all about. It started in 1986 by a man whose name is Rick Rubin. Rick Rubin is a modern day philosopher. Rick Rubin is the person who started DevOps. I'm sorry to John and Patrick and Andrew and Deming. I'm sorry, it was Rick Rubin. And if you are still on Twitter, Rick Rubin posts, or he used quotes all the time. He knows everything about DevOps and he's never even heard the word. Look at this. Sometimes what looks like collaboration is merely sublimating egos, not actually working together. Sorry, y'all. Sometimes that's what DevOps looks like. It doesn't have to be done professionally. I wanted to make sure that vibe coding got introduced in this DevOps. Rick knows. Rick knows. All right. What else does Rick Rubin have to tell us? What other inspirations can we take from him? Well, thinking doesn't always solve the problem. Sometimes creating space allows inspiration to do the work. What's Rick telling us here? When you're stuck, get up and go for a walk. Just create some space. That space is going to help you solve that problem. True collaboration isn't rooted in versus and settling. And how often are we doing this? We're thinking about it's us versus them, and we're going to collaborate, but we're going to win. Oh no, we have to compromise. This is super important. The reason to finish is to start something new. Stop with the too much work in process. Focus on finishing the work. As they say, start finishing, stop starting. All right. Being aware of the audience as you're making the work changes it. This can change it in good ways and this can change it in bad ways. One of the things that Dora has shown us through our research is that those teams that are focused on their users have the best results. I'm sorry to say there are no shortcuts. You have to do the work. You have to do the work. Is this amazing or what? Rick knows DevOps, doesn't he? He knows what the fuck is up. With every piece of advice, consider sometimes the opposite is equally true. We've heard a lot of advice from right here over the past day and a half. Maybe it's not correct for you, but your context matters. So just consider the other side. Allow the individual pieces to retain their natural voice. To me, this again is DevOps. We didn't ask the operators to become developers. We might have asked them to carry the pager, but we want them to retain their natural voice. There's a visceral reaction when you know something's good. It doesn't have to make sense. It's not intellectual. It transcends intellect. You know that time when those tests pass? It doesn't have to make any sense. Like, that's amazing. Our path is to collaborate with what's happening, not to fight it. As individuals, we can't change the entire organization. We have to work within its constraints. We have to understand how do we help thing improve. Oh, and this one, and the final Rick Rubin quote is one to think about as you go into the open spaces today. If you're listening or speaking, either way, you are participating in the conversation. So I encourage and implore all of you to follow the work of Rick Rubin, be more like Rick Rubin, and let the universe guide you. The writing of code and the work that we do is a creative act. Check out his book, The Creative Act. It's a way of being. DevOps is a way of being. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Nathan. Now we got Ruthie. Let's go, Ruthie.
When your phone's ready, there's a few QR codes. Excited, my 7-year-old loves QR codes. So he'll be excited too. Okay, AI is an accelerant. I was inspired to give this talk today because of a cool session yesterday about learning versus speed, and that's something that I'm dealing with a lot here, 2 years into my career. And who doesn't love Castaway? Okay, I wrote about how in 2022, when I went to boot camp, is the moment that this all changed for everyone. We lost financial stability in the tech market, and AI dropped for everyone, right? General availability. Um, I actually learned yesterday from John Willis that AI has been worked since the 1940s. So we cannot ignore it. It is coming, it is here, it's not going anywhere. So I have chosen early in my career to just, also, if you're gonna make your company more money using AI, they want you to do it. That's the bottom line. Like, what I know so far about corporate tech business is that, they wanna make the money. So that's what we have to focus on. So how I'm using it in my early career as a developer is to try to use it well so that I do my job better and not try to replace my job with the tool itself. And I'm gonna talk about a few ways that I'm doing that, like pair programming in advance of pairing with humans to get as far in it as possible. Um, People's time costs more than mine does at my company, and I appreciate that. So when they're giving me their time, I choose to be as prepared as possible. Also, autocomplete is great for pair programming. I love Copilot for this. It's no different than any other shortcut. It's just allowing ourselves to move faster when we're where we're going. Sometimes it's wrong, you gotta verify. One thing that we've done recently is on my app development team where we're building components is feed in prompts about our specifications for components and letting it start doing the work for us. We know it's not gonna be perfect design, but we let it get us started so we can move faster. I also use it to edit writing. I have English degrees, so I don't let ChatGPT write for me, but I can ask it to take out the 3 worst sentences if I'm over a word count. It does that pretty good. Also, I need a teacher sometimes, and I don't always wanna bug somebody, and Stack Overflow isn't always the best source nowadays because the AI is trained, so I will absolutely ask it to explain things to me so I can move faster too. I don't want to be too pro AI without talking about how it costs water and energy and lots of other resources to use it, so we should use it responsibly, but that it's gonna be used regardless, so let's just use it well. Um, and not over depending on it. We can appreciate and embrace it and keep moving faster while also, continuing to learn our craft for our own benefit. Okay, I also hear at work a lot, what got us here won't get us there. And so I can use AI to help me think through the experiences that I've gone through, or the code that I've written that has come back, and we can work together to get better in the future. And in distributed systems, our work is getting more complicated. It's never going to get less complicated. You're not launching static sites at work these days. You know what I'm saying? So we have to allow it to. Oh yes, okay. Let me just skip to this. I'm sure you've all heard this peanut butter and jelly thing. You tell the computer how to make a peanut butter and jelly, and then it does this thing, right? Prompting is the same way. It will give you weird hallucinatory results if you're not very specific, and you have to continue to fine tune that so you don't get jelly on your hands. Um, but with some practice, can AI help you inject into standard open source telemetry into your code base? And why OTel? Let's talk about that on the next slide. It is open source and well maintained. It has great documentation against tons of different languages, and it's vendor non-specific. So while I think you should use you don't have to. You can use anybody as long as you're using OTel. Just like we don't still use like a can on a string to communicate, uh, and we use phones and computers and stuff like that. Our jobs as developers aren't going anywhere, but the shape of it is changing, and so we have to go with that. And I welcome our new AI overlords. Our jobs and our technological future and our business success depends on collaborating with AI. That's just what it is and where we gotta go. So I'm encouraging that here. I am Ruthie. You can find me on LinkedIn. I'm a software engineer on an app enablement at Honeycomb, and I'm so grateful. We're really happy to be here at this event and sponsor it. I am so honored and grateful for the opportunity to do my first
That was great. I love putting first time speakers on stage. It's one of my favorite things at Devopsdays Atlanta. So, let's see. Unplug for a minute to get the Ignite karaoke deck up. So whoever's down for Ignite karaoke, if you want to form a line to the red stage, Andre, you said you wanted to do one. I know we got a couple other people. Yep, yep, yep. Um, you don't have to, but like the deck runs pretty deep. We can hold a few. So jump in. Yeah. So again, Ignite karaoke, you come up and pitch a topic, and then you get random gifts and pictures that pop up, and you have to ad lib your topic into the pictures you're getting. Yep. It works better than it should. It, I think you're in. Did you just volunteer? Come on. Come on. You can do this. You still got true. I don't think you get 20 slides. I think it's much less than that. Using an old deck. Yeah, you get a transition slide. I can find my deck. There it is. I'm like waiting on Wi-Fi at this point. Where the Wi-Fi has not been great. I know I'm unplugged. That much I know. Don't do that. Plug in. I've got no torrent. Oh man, like we hadn't gotten bit by the Wi-Fi hard until now. We're gonna be all right. It's getting there. Seriously. I thought I saw John walk in. He's demanded I sing before. I'm not gonna do that now. Oh my goodness. Maybe we want to call an audible here and this a second longer. We could be using this time to pitch open space topics. Be thinking open space topics. Also, make sure you got your vendor card turned in. I think some of the sponsors have left already. And what else am I forgetting? Any other announcements? You get a free pass on Red Hat. Was the decision that got made. Anybody that's left at this point. Well, we are sort of changing the rules. Hey,
The improv person. No, I'm not doing. Oh, we're done here now? Oh, got it. Okay, so for my Girl Scout troop, we have a triumvirate. I am the funny clown who sings songs and then here I am to tell you more about how karaoke, presentation karaoke of any kind can be. I first saw this at the Big Agile conference, and it was by a waterfall, so all of my videos have zero, but it was the most hilarious thing I'd ever seen. It was very much audience participation because there was a fishbowl with paper and a pen next to it. So you could write anything you wanted on this piece of paper and drop it in the fishbowl. And we, the victims, would then reach into the fishbowl and say, I am now an expert on fish breeding. And I am here to speak to you today about fish breeding. And I look up there and that is not a fish. Fish are on fire. You just pick something and go with it. So this is kind of like if you wanna win trivia and there's a timer, you just simply commit. So this would be, interesting exercise in improvisation and making connections that may not be obvious. And if for some reason you see a slide that does not fit at all, you can just be like, "Here's how we go wrong in this." So there are no wrong answers in that karaoke, and if you fall over laughing, that is totally acceptable. That is part of the goal.
you can keep going.
No, no, no.
Or you can pass the mic. Let's hear it for Claire Hooks.
Good afternoon. So today we're going to talk about operational excellence in the enterprise. So we're doing 15 seconds, right? Okay. So the enterprise is an interesting beast. You have way too many features that you're trying to cram in a package, make it coherent, sell it in a way that fits all of the needs of the customers, of all the stakeholders. Somehow you got to ship it and not drop half of it on the highway. You have your boss that comes down and says, make it so. That's the mandate. If it was supposed to be completely logical, it was not logical. It did not fit. There was supposed to be rigor about this. That rigor did not exist. All you had was just a whole bunch of, I don't even know what those kinds of sausages coming out of the factory of the CI/CD pipeline are coming out. But apparently, we're releasing a lot of our pipeline is beautiful. It's releasing. One does not simply release a whole bunch of curds into production in order to get something that's actually coherent, something that really satisfies what customers want, because they usually want something that works with them, with their needs, and fixes the pain points that they have, not that. Because at the end of the day, we only have so much time to accomplish our jobs. We have all these different interests, all of these different requirements. And at the heart of it, we want to do something that is good for our customers.
Hi, I'm Claire Moss, also known as the A Clarification on the internet. I This is a portrait of me working in my office before coming to this event and rushing through Atlanta traffic to be here today. So I understand a lot as an Atlanta native about the pressure of time and the difficulty of delivery in heavy traffic. And sometimes it can drive you crazy to the point where it doesn't feel like work is enough fun. And so you have to bring some of that with you. So this event, I have been bringing my crochet with me all over the place. It actually is a great icebreaker. It really makes people smile and helps us to connect as individuals, where people are saying, "What in the world is that thing?" And I'm like, "I'm not sure yet, but it should be a pufferfish." I've never seen a birthday pufferfish, but I have great belief in my ability to succeed with this. I'm quite certain that at the end of the day, it will become my friend's favorite gift. It's made from the heart and developed with you, not against you. But, um, but I'm not certain that this will be the kind of thing that she wouldn't oppose, because I'm only making one. She has 2 kids. So it might become a point of contention. Hopefully, it will be a degree, and we'll hear about it on.
Hi again, I'm Ruthie. I want to talk to you about the power of manifestation. This cat really wants what's inside this cup, and I believe that if it makes all the right moves to go in the direction, it will get what it needs. Um, Sometimes life feels like it's punching you in the face, and it's hard to believe that you can think positively to reach your goals and enhance your life. But I'm here to tell you that the price is right to um, get everything that you need. It explodes your greatness into the world. This is so much harder than it looks. Y'all did a great job. So yeah, well, I believe that manifestation is real. I said I am a programmer, and 2 years later, I am talking about programming here in front of you, and it wasn't easy the whole way. You weren't there, so you don't know how many hard, finger-breaking nights I spent trying to learn JavaScript and figuring out the Perl stack. And every once in a while, it looked like I was getting punched right into a tree, but I ate my greens, and I believed that if I thought positively enough and I made a positive contribution to my life, I would succeed. So here I am in front of all of you. Thank you.
That's right. I want to talk about psychological safety, which is why I'm facing this. I haven't given a conference talk since 2019. The last time I was scheduled to talk, third week of March 2020. Had a good talk line. This isn't it. But something I've been thinking about lately. I've been working as a manager for almost 10 years, and I've worked really focused on making spaces where my teams can prosper, like create an environment where they can do their best work. And I realized recently, just the last few months, that there's an extra layer that we sometimes need that is beyond just safeness, but also cultivating courage. I don't know if that's that. Sometimes we need people to go out on a limb and try something that hasn't been done before. And we shouldn't need them to sacrifice. Oh, they're done? We shouldn't need them to sacrifice the rest of our conference talk. Thank you all.
Hi, everybody. My name is Alex Hinau, aka Hey Now. I'm missing from that picture. I would normally be on. but I also want to talk about setting up an environment. We've talked about an environment of learning, uh, but let's say you have everything that you need to succeed, like this weapon that Arnold has, because he's going to get it done, but your team isn't getting it done. So what do? You think about changing the culture. You think about changing the environment. You think about stuff like that to make things really fun. Because one of the things that Duke Kahanamoku, a prolific surfer, said is, "Who is the best surfer? It's the one who has the most fun out there." And I think with an environment where you're having fun, you can look back and say, "Wow, we did this. We got all these things accomplished. We did okay." Um, so setting up that environment to have fun is great. Just being silly, making silly faces, making yourself vulnerable, like we are doing here today, really helps for people to step up to have that courage to try things that they normally wouldn't, or say things that they normally to get things done.
This work? Hi. Let's see how we're. Oh, I want to talk how you can use AI for certifications. So, oh, geez. Well, sometimes we have to have eyes in the back of our head to keep on top of all the technology that's coming out. And depending on what your job is, sometimes you have to be certified or get a certification. And there is a river of information that you have to keep up with. You're just trying to keep your head above water. AI is a great tool. Generative AI specifically helps you study better. And how it does it is putting the world at your feet. I mean, you don't, I mean, just because you might feel stupid, um, are you really stupid? No, there's a bunch of information out there that you can utilize to help you study. If you're asking the right questions and you get back these responses like, what? You have to write better prompts. And using that information to help you learn what the skill is, you can do a thing called like three right questions and a wrong answer. I know it sounds pretty boring, but it really is helping tune your one skill, learning how to use generative AI to help you learn something. And two, you're waiting for the opportunity. So when you can just schedule your exam and get off and that's it.
Do we have more? I'll go. There's more. Yeah, so I'm going to talk about community organizing and forming a good team to get an event on. I couldn't do all the community stuff I do without the help of my wonderful organizers. Thank you so much. It can be frustrating trying to pull an event together sometimes, and sometimes it feels like you got a lot on your shoulders. But then, like, the organizers jump in when you least expect it to help you out. And sometimes, like, part of that is dealing with hostile attendees. Typically, don't have that problem, but it's funny the way people can lose their mind at an event. We try to be patient, make space for each other, and you've got to remember, like, there's multiple ways to participate in the community. Maybe you don't organize, maybe you don't present, maybe you attend. Sometimes it's as simple as like holding doors, saying good morning, and sitting with somebody that's sitting alone or sitting at an empty table. Because everybody needs a friend they can ride with. You've got to create an opportunity for them to jump in. Expand the circle, make it bigger. There's room for everybody in the Atlanta community. I don't care what some of the other Atlanta area community organizers say. We are done with Ignite karaoke. On a more serious note, if you are interested in helping us organize Devopsdays Atlanta, please come talk to me. I think this is the first place I'm pitching is community organizing. I do have a big meetup again. We've got Atlanta DevOps and cloud computing. I haven't scheduled a meetup with it because this is tough. You've got to have a speaker, you got to have a venue. Sometimes people expect food, sometimes they don't. So if you're in Atlanta and want to help out the meetup, we can kick that back off. We don't have to. opportunity. Just like we don't have to have another DevOps Days Atlanta. We probably are gonna. So if you want to help plan 2026, please do get in touch. And who else has an open space topic they want to? And we got a lot. So Andre's got the post-it notes. You weren't here yesterday. Who wasn't here yesterday? Open spaces, we pitch topics. I forgot to tell people yesterday, say your name when you do the pitch. We get it written on a post-it note. Then we're going to break out into small groups for conversations. Folks tell us this is the best part of DevOps Days pretty consistently.
Hi, I'm Angela. Just so you know what my name is. My name is Angela. I would love, love, love to do a tech topic or tool where it's a big bracket and you present your favorite tool or your favorite tip and you battle it out with someone else. And we want to get to the final four where you are your favorite tool or tip against someone else and the room gets to decide. Best tool or tip.
Hello again. My name is Peter Folsom, and I would like to talk about management, especially management post zero interest rate policy, the way funding has changed, management post COVID, management post AI. These are all things that kind of shape the practice. And when I came to management, I thought it was something for people who don't want to code, but now I have come to really believe in the practice. So if you want to talk management, I'd like to also.
Hey, y'all. So you've heard a lot about Dr. Deming the last 2 days, right? Who is this guy? Well, one of the most famous things he has is what's called the Red Bead Game. And I've been asked by the organizers, I know you've had enough of this John Willis guy all 2 days, but I think I'd like to end the day with this game. It's a game to play this terrible manager, and I've got the privilege of firing Nathan once. And I fired Clay Shaver. I actually fired Gene Kim in a game one time, so that'll go on my gravestone, right? But it's a fun game, and there's some math behind it of why management is so terrible. Decisions they make, all based on this silly, stupid game. So, end of the day, nice icebreaker. If you got nothing else to do, come on over. And we'll just have a lot of fun. I'll be manager. It'll be great. Thanks.
Oh, nice. Highly recommended, by the way. Having John lead one of these it's an honor, and it's really going to teach you something. I would like for Nathan Harvey, the Run DMC Aerosmith, to lead a discussion on modern developer productivity metrics.
Hi, everybody. I'm Alex. So I've been inspired by a book called Accelerate, which the door folks are all over with their metrics. Now bring into the space. I'd like to talk about, have y'all ever used any one metric to improve your team and how you did it? Because I went through a journey like the past year where I was given the task of take this team and get it going into the right direction. And for me, that inspiration was one of the metrics, which is deployment frequency. So I just want to open up a forum about those types of conversations.
Hey y'all, I'm Derek Lewis. I've been ghostwriting books for 16 years. I got up because I was working with John. We got connected on the Deming book, and I'm here because we're co-signing we're doing a book signing for John's new book, the AI book, Rebels of Reasons. And we've actually done a third book together, John's memoir, Digital Confidential. Few people have to die before we publish it. So just pre-order now. I'm actually co-pitching this idea on behalf of or with John. If you've ever thought about writing a book, we'd love to share our experience and how it's actually can be really fun, not monumental, Herculean, terribly intimidating task. So if you ever thought about writing a book, or if you just like to learn about creativity, let's talk to
Hi, I'm Jason, and I would like to talk about developer onboarding, people, culture, and tech. I don't think a lot of guys show up, they'll just say that's not a solved problem, but I'd like to hear from the rest of you.
Hey, my name's Kamasia, and so I'd like to pitch cultivating cult-like communities around your projects, around your organizations, and around your brands. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Chantal. I wanted to pitch, if the only tool you have is a hammer, then every issue looks like a nail. And essentially, what I'm going to posit is, and it's more of an open-ended discussion, what things AI should not be used for. And I love to hear people's opinions. It can be as opinionated as you want it to be, or ideas.
Hey, I'm Kamasia again. So my final open space pitch is dedicated to networking, really cultivating one-on-one relationships with everyone. We're in a room full of diverse people who do diverse things, and just see where we can all fit and fortify each other's projects and aspirations. Thank you.
I'm curious about speaking on compliance and automating compliance, and if anyone has to do with compliance, how to talk.
I am Claire and I don't follow the pattern. My interest is in developing new speakers. I have an organizing committee and I've done that because voices are really important to me. And if you think that you want to speak, but you don't know how to start, I do not recommend Ignite Karaoke as your first experience, but I'm very proud of you, Angela. And I would love to talk to you more about how I got into it, things that might work for you, and help you brainstorm. How to get started. We get to have you next year.
So we need a few more open space topics. Um, I am gonna plug that we really do have a MetaQuest 3 that we're trying to raffle off. We got a little bit more time to get your sponsor passport in before the sponsor hall closes. I think it's probably gonna shut down during open spaces. They usually start breaking down. Can we get a couple more topics in? I know some other people got some questions, some thoughts.
We didn't get a Q&A session after my talk, so if anybody wants to talk about all the AI that we didn't get to cover in the
I'm gonna label that one AI and art. It's like, Rachel is an artist. Your talk did cover art and like art from a philosophical perspective. We can talk about art. No? Okay, you don't have to come, but I want to talk about art. See, we've got this whole bumblebees and butterfly things and law of mobility. I might not even be there. That happened with some of them yesterday. You got another one, Claire?
No, I just wanted to point out this is an excellent pull up. If you have a burning question, get up here. Be like, answer my question for me. You don't have to run the session. You can just be like, give me all your knowledge. It worked really well for me at my first conference.
Any other topics or open spaces? Oh, we got another one coming.
So just in the interest of trying to participate and fill an empty slot, if y'all want to talk about, so that's creativity and, I mean, that's AI and art. You want to talk about using AI in creativity? I think that'd be a cool subject to riff on. Don't know a whole lot about it, but I'd love to look.
Awesome.
And I'll cop out and just say, let's have a table talking about what books we're reading.
Book club. Yeah, book club's always a fun one. Andre gave me the thumbs up. So now we're at like a little bit of a break. They should have snacks out. If y'all want to try to hit the vendor hall one more time before we shut it down, and we will kick off open spaces here shortly. We'll have the schedule up on the wall over by the staircase as soon as we've got it together. Thanks, y'all.